Hi everybody, welcome to our podcast. My name is Noel Richards.
And I'm Wayne Drain.
Wayne, over the years that you've been a singer, a songwriter, worship leader, you've also been the pastor of a local church. And I'm sure that you have some stories about maybe some of the tensions that can rise up between the pastor and those that are leading worship on a Sunday morning.
One story that sticks out to me is when I went to do a weekend at a church, and the worship leader picked me up. And he, on the way to the hotel, he just said, well, one of the problems we're having is that our pastor is so controlling that we never feel freedom to lead worship. Well, the pastor picked me up to take me out to eat that night, and he said, well, one of our problems is our worship leader is just so rebellious. If I give him 15 minutes, he'll take 20. If I give him 25 minutes, he'll want 30. And so, and I could tell that their relationship wasn't where it needed to be. And I think that relationship between those leading the meeting and the worship leader is just so important that they talk and get on the same page.
Yeah, I remember an issue many years ago when I was visiting a church in the northwest of the US, and the pastor only spoke one sentence to me throughout the entire evening. And he said, "Go easy with my folks. They're not used to this." Because he saw us setting up our amps and he knew that we were a rock and roll worship band. But that's the only thing he said to me. And he didn't communicate at all. And I remember watching him throughout the evening. I didn't realize that the denomination that he was part of didn't really like dancing in corporate worship.
Right.
And of course, I launched into Matt Redman's song, "I'll Be Even More Undignified Than This." And of course, we were quite undignified. And then we did "I Could Sing of Your Love Forever" and "Oh, I Feel Like Dancing, It's Foolishness, I Know." And I remember looking down at the pastor and I thought, he looks like he's about to have a heart attack, because he'd handed the meeting over to us. And now we had basically, without really wanting to, we'd hijacked it. So there was a tension there.
Yeah. Well, I think a worship leader usually is thinking about one thing, and that's the songs they're going to do and where they want to go. But the guy responsible for the meeting or the gal responsible for the meeting, they know that they're going to have a baptism that night. They're going to pray for a missionary. They've got several things that they know they've got to do, and they're watching the clock tick away. And they're thinking, I'm not going to get to this. The missionary leaves tomorrow. So they're often carrying a whole load of things into a meeting that they've got to get. But if they hadn't shared that with the worship leader, they don't know. Rather than just saying you've got 20 minutes, say, we also have to do a baptism tonight. We're going to pray for a missionary. And then I think the worship leader would be, oh, I see what's going on. They could be more of a partnership.
So there always needs to be that clear communication.
Yes.
That is the really important thing. I had a good relationship with the guy that I worked with, who was the leader of our church. We were friends. And so we never got into conflict because we were two friends working together, and we kind of bounced off one another. So I think it's important that somehow the worship leader, the person responsible for the worship team, and that person responsible for them, there must be an element of friendship there.
Well, I really think one of the best things they can do is make sure that they meet to discuss the direction for a particular event or church service, to make sure that they're looking in the same direction and are aware of what the tensions that each other are carrying. Yeah. And then maybe to be able to pray together. Yes. And I feel they'll go in more as a team. And I think it should be a team rather than two solo acts trying to figure out if they can get the most time.
And I've just remembered, one of the things that's important is that the person leading the worship, that person needs to keep their eyes open.
Yes.
Because the one thing that a pastor fears is a worship leader who is lost in wonder, love, and oblivion, and is totally unaware of maybe a contribution that may need to be brought into the gathering.
Yes.
At a given time. So that eye contact is always important.
I think it's very important. Very important to be aware. And just because your eyes are open doesn't mean you're not feeling what you need to feel about that's going on in the spirit, or It doesn't mean you're not worshiping. It just means you're in a leadership role.
Yes.
And leaders need to see what's going on.
Yes. So let's keep our ears, eyes, and hearts open to one another.
Amen.